Di Grassi 42 seconds ahead of Mark Webber. And that came down just a fraction on the last lap, and then they in turn are about 8 laps clear of Anthony Davidson in the surviving Toyota in 4th place. And then Romain Dumas in the second Porsche is just about a lap behind Davidson. So that's still to play for, as we watch a little gaggle of GT cars coming through the Ford chicane. And 52 Ferrari heads for the pits.
That's the Ram Racing car. Good to see those guys, having lost a lot of time earlier in the race, still out there and chugging round. They're not on our first page of timing.
There's a few Porsches, Aston Martins looking very strong out there, aren't there? The Stefan Mucker car in 2nd place in GT Pro, in GT Am, Christian Poulsen leading that class as well. And if we just go on to the next page, we should see Nicky Thiem, who's a real old charger. No, it's no longer Nicky Thiem, or is it Paul Dallalana in the Canadian in the number 98 Aston as well.
That car's lost quite a lot of time during the night, actually. That car was right up there. Paul Dallalana having a couple of offs in the last stint we saw for him as the sun went down. Just small spins, nothing major at all. But Paul, yeah, they've definitely you've got to look at the fact they've done 15 stops against the other AMs are about 15. So but they've certainly lost probably about 10 laps somewhere.
So into the pits has come the class-leading GT Ferrari, and now driven by Tony Villander, and also the LMP2 car of Shell. That's quite some way down, so it's not one of the contenders. And that's Julien Shell, né à Strasbourg, born in Strasbourg. So into the pits, who have we got here? Number 8. From 4th place, Anthony Davidson comes in. And I'm just writing down some lap times here for the leaders. Marcel Fessler, 3 minutes 31, 3 minutes 28, 3 minutes 30, 3 minutes 28, 3 minutes 27. So pretty good times from him. Lucas Di Grassi, 3 minutes 29, 3 minutes 29, 3 minutes 31, 3 minutes 30, so not so quick from him. And same from Mark Webber, I'm afraid. 3 minutes 30, 36, 3 minutes 30, 3 minutes 33.
So that 52 Ferrari that we saw coming in, those guys have actually rebuilt the gearbox on that car during the night. So they've seen a few issues. They had a small electrical fire last night. One of the boxes within the cockpit, one of the mandatory boxes, catching fire with, I think it was Alvaro Parent in the car at the time, actually. So the 52 back in the garage now, unfortunately. So they're going to have a good look inside that gearbox again, by the sounds of it. Unfortunate for those guys. They came here expecting so much. Very much that program built around coming here. They didn't make it here last year, and the second year around the Ram Racing effort, run by Dan Shufflebottom and the crew out of Silverstone. But they'll be back. Just having a flick through to see what happened to the 66 Ferrari as well. That car was running quite strong, the JMW car. It was running relatively strongly. Those guys being the guys that Seth Neiman and co from Flying Lizards Motorsport, normally racing the Audi, but stalwarts here in a Porsche. That car is out there still running on 209 laps. Still in the hunt in the AM class, not a long way back. A couple of laps back from the class leader.
About 8th in class, really. Now we're riding on board here with number 51. That's a class-leading Ferrari of GT. Meanwhile, their rivals, 92, in 3rd place in class, Fred Makovici, comes into the pits. Doesn't look like a driver change that we can see. There's a tear-off comes off the screen. I don't know about these whole screen tear-offs. Interesting to see those, but you can quite understand why they're used. And some disc brakes temperatures being taken there with a probe and oh, it's suddenly gone a bit quiet. Yeah, there's still refueling going on.
Fuel going in. Yeah, that should take them around 30 seconds to get all the fuel into that car.
And they put on an electrical ground earth, don't they?
Absolutely, just to take any charge that's built up in that car back to ground, so that there's no potential difference between the car and the rig as they connect it, which would create a spark.
And in Formula One, they used to have little. They used to put little, I don't know what you call them,
feet
really.
on the ground almost, weren't they? They would ground the car as the car drove in over them.
Yeah.
I mean, flapping there on the left side of that car as it leaves the pits, probably just a bit of tape, the 92. But the car that's that Porsche's main effort now, the 91 having lost quite a lot of time last night. 92 with Freddie Makovici at the wheel, the Aston Martin driver last year, drafted in to that car to replace Mark Lieb, in effect, who moved up to the LMP1 programme. And your Bergmeister, of course, also moving up to the LMP1.
What we want to see is one of those Chevrolets to get back on terms and complete the four manufacturers all disputing. There we are. There's a repeat of the tear-off coming off the screen.
Just the other car that we lost last night as we were leaving was the 26 Morgan. That, well, last year's, or certainly this year's favourite, I think. The G-Drive racing car, Ollie Pla at the wheel at the time, but shared that car with Julien Canal. And
yeah, never made it, really. We never saw it again. 120 laps.
Impressive to see that in the 6 hours we were away, that was probably, well, that was the last retirement, really.
Yeah, except for
Nakano, which we've already talked about.
Yeah, Nakajima's Toyota. Yeah. Otherwise, that's it.
But no word on what happened to that. I will give the guys at Oak Racing a quick prod and see what they've got to say, because we would have expected that car to be right up there in the hunt. Yeah, sad to see that car out. The guys at Oak fairly quiet on the social media. I think someone's having a bit of a sleep somewhere in the back of a motorhome. There we go. There's the on-road.
Used to be in a wheel in the back of. There used to be a sort of labyrinth of tunnels and passages behind the garages, which was all gravel-based, and you'd find these figures slumped in the back there in the years past before they rebuilt the pits. It's much more civilized now. Now, we still have this potential battle over second place with the Audi of Lucas Di Grassi and Mark Webber in the Porsche, but I have to say that Di Grassi lapping a couple of seconds quicker on that last lap. There's 46 seconds between them, Di Grassi to Webber, and that's a potential change, really. Those are the only two on the same lap. Fassler is about 3 laps ahead, and Davidson about 8 laps behind, and then Romain Dumas another lap behind him. So those are the first 5. But the potential there is Di Grassi and Webber, but we're not really seeing much pace from Mark Webber. 3 minutes 31. I'm sure there's a very good reason for that. It's not that he can't do it. We all know that he can, but there's probably a mechanical reason why he's unable to just pick up the pace a bit and perhaps challenge that Audi. But Audi it is at the moment from Porsche, Toyota, Porsche. Audi haven't had much luck in the World Endurance Championship so far. 2 rounds we've had so far. And this is now round 3 with the double points. And then we go to, I think, Circuit of the Americas. Then there's also later on in the season, actually the season closer is in Sao Paulo in Brazil, where there's some other small sporting occasion taking place at the moment. And just before that, Bahrain, and we've also got, I think, Shanghai and Fuji as well. And Sonoma, potentially? No, it's Circuit of the Americas, isn't it?
Circuit of the Americas, yes, coming up next in the WEC calendar. So the 26, just to update you on that, I don't know if the guys managed to do that last night. That was a crash for Ollie Pla. Wouldn't have expected to see that from Ollie. He's normally the safest hand in LMP2, but out with crash damage. And that was the second chicane, but we didn't really see anything of it on the TV screens. So obviously good job of hiding it. The 12 Rebellion comes back into the pits now.
From 10th place, Matthias Besch bringing the car in. Perhaps the less known of the two drivers in that car.
Absolutely, just plodding round, and Art Hayden's podium dream certainly not over, because trouble can come at any time for those factory cars, and podiuming class is overall in LMP is certainly what Bart's looking for, Bart and the boys at Rebellion.
And of course he's got, he actually is a class leader at the moment, isn't he? Because he's in the LMP1L class, standing for light, whereas the others ahead of him are in the LMP1H hybrid class.
Yeah, absolutely. That car running at 810 kilos as opposed to 875 that we see for the factory cars, hence the light. But the factory cars carrying so much weight in terms of hybrid package. You know, the battery on the Porsche, I think, is not inconsiderable in weight. Be probably well over 50 kilos, I would think, as we see the 33 car, the HPD powered LMP2 Ligier coming past us. Those guys lost some time last night having to change a turbo. Unfortunate, because they were having a really strong run in that car. So we see at the top of that class, Nissan, and Nissan.
So Matthias Besch still in the pits, if it is indeed him. I didn't see a driver change there. But whoever he hands the car over to is getting the car in perfect conditions.
They didn't actually change driver there. That was fuel and tyres for Besch. So normally you only change tyres when you change driver, but as we see that Alpine car really pushing now, Nelson Panciatici getting the car really crossed up as he enters the start-finish straight. Handfuls of opposite lock as he heads up towards the Dunlop Bridge.
Michel Frey coming in from 4th in class in the number 34 Orica. And Michel Frey, the older, shall we say, of the three drivers there, with John Lancaster and Frank Meyer. Michel Frey at 40 years old, coming, as I mentioned earlier on, from Aarau in Switzerland. Not very far away from Zurich. So whether he will hand over to either John Lancaster or Frank Meyer remains to be seen. Interesting recruitment, actually. Look at this column of cars with right at the back
there, with the Audi coming through from behind,
trying to overtake.
They're of course trying to overtake the GTE cars, really holding up that number 2 Audi there, because they're going past those two Porsches, and he can't get by. He's just having to cruise. So that's the number 1 Audi, Lucas Di Grassi at the wheel, and he even gets chopped off by the GTE and Porsche there, the Dempsey car, which he won't be best pleased about. Now he's going to clear that car, close the gap again that's just been made by going through that chicane behind the Dempsey car, and he's now got to hunt down those LMP2 cars and just, wow, is he three wide, elbowing him across. Come on, let me through, let me through.
Trying to make it 3 wide down the straight. Just not really the space there to make it 3 wide. It's going to be interesting to look at his lap time. It'll be a real education for all of us to see just how much time he loses on this lap.
He'll have lost 5 or 6 seconds in that sector alone, I think, looking at that. The way that he was held up, he's going to pass the Pegasus Racing car now. He's cleared that car already.
Mark Webber, who he's battling with in some ways, 3 minutes 32, brought the gap down a fraction to 48.707. But it could go up again with this rather impeded lap for Lucas Di Grassi. Anthony Davidson lapping in the 3-minute 29s, but it is a bit elastic, isn't it, the lap times? It all depends on exactly what we were looking at just there, depending on the traffic.
And as we see there, the number 1 car with Di Grassi at the wheel it lost 5 seconds there in that second sector of the lap behind that LMP2 traffic. So That's a big old lump of time to lose, and he'll be pressing on now. Of course, the way the energy recovery works, he will have been storing up energy there that he can use elsewhere on the lap. So we're likely to see a blinding Sector 3 time from him as he uses the energy allowance that he's allowed for the lap. It's a 3-lap rolling average, so they have to make sure that they never pass over any 3 laps. So in this instance, he will have stored some up, but he can use it again either towards the end of this lap, or if he really feels, keep it for the next, as long as he never goes over in the 3-lap rolling average. In the case of the Audi, 6 megajoules over the 3-lap rolling average. That car running in the 2 megajoule category, 2 megajoules of energy allowed.
And in fact, we won't find out that time, because Lucas Di Grassi, I thought he was coming into the pits, but
he is. He's just come past in front of us.
So that will mean that his advantage comes down anyway.
The 20 Porsche struggling in that GTE traffic as well. That's him about to come through and pass our class leader, I think, isn't it? Goes round the outside there into karting, right-hander through the left. That extra runoff that we saw pitch the KCMG car last night into what we would term in bike racing terms a high side, hitting the wall on the right-hand side and retiring that car as the driver change, seeing Luca Di Grassi out, and I think that'll be Marc Genet into that car. Yes, it is. Marc Genet.
And the number 20 car coming in at the same time. So the second and third place battle, they're pretty much on the same schedule of pit stops, interestingly enough. So we'll keep an eye on that.
The same lap, so we're seeing a 47-second gap there. Let's see what it gets. Mark Webber won't be getting a full service this time, this being the end of his first stint. That's a 13-lapper again. I'm still surprised we haven't seen 14 from that Porsche. It should be capable of that, but the guy's going to work, giving it a good clean. Mark Webber on his way again. No new tyres there, just fuel only. So he'll have closed the gap to the number 1 Audi as we see the fuel going into the Porsche. Oh, pushing it back. Somebody parked in front of them. Yep, that Corvette, that's the JMW car, actually, the 66 JMW car, having a driver change, parked very badly as they've come in.
Well, is it?
Yeah, I think the Porsche guys will be going and having a word with Davey Nichols, who's crew chief there. Of course, that's where Steve Bunkle did so many years before he's moved on, did a lot in the States, and now working for the SMP team. But Steve Hagger and Davey Nichols running that JMW outfit, and yeah, I think one of them will be getting a tap on the shoulder.
Now let's keep an eye now in the next few minutes on the gap between Marc Genet, as it now is, in number 1 in the second-placed Audi, and Mark Webber in the third-placed Porsche, because that's going to be an interesting little margin. That is our battle in LMP1. Unless we see delays elsewhere, particularly for the leading Audi of Marcel Fessler, Benoit Trellier and André Lotterer. So we'll keep an eye on that. Fessler, Trellier and Lotterer out in the lead, and they've won a few of their own. In fact, they've won the last couple of years here, that trio. So this would be a hat-trick for them, but let's not count chickens before they're hatched. But interesting that.
Yeah, they had the title taken away from them, world champions in the first year of the World Endurance Series. So it'd be good to see what goes on there as they chase down this victory from the number 1 guys, the older crew, with Christensen looking for his 10th.
Yes. Tom Christensen in the number 1 car there, and he really is Mr. Le Mans. We used to say Jackie Ickx was, or perhaps Derek Bell even, but he's certainly there's only one Mr. Le Mans these days, and that's Tom Christensen. Howard Blank's Ferrari being pushed into the garage there, and the number 62 Ferrari, which is about third last of the runners at the moment.
Not sure what the problem is there. The guy's in the cockpit having a good rummage around, but the engine cover off, and someone looking in the back. The tweet rate well down, about 17 every 5 minutes, which we've been seeing last night up in the 80s. So clearly some media people in bed or getting a bit of shut-eye in the back of the garage. Just looking through now to see what we're expecting. Buddy in the 46 Ligier is catching Pantiatici in the 36 Alpine. Be good to see what happens there. Less than 10 seconds behind at the moment, so we're about to see a battle on there with those guys.
Now, interestingly enough, we've got already a gap between Marc Genet and Mark Webber, and it's come down by about 15, 17 seconds with that pit stop. It was a slightly easier pit stop. Oh, Chevrolet Corvette opting for the chicane. No,
that's the 66 car on its way out of the pits.
Ferrari.
So we saw that in stopping the Porsche, getting a clean run out. I don't know that we did see that was a driver change, so that's somebody struggling to wake up at this hour in the morning. Can't blame them.
Feeling the same, are you?
Yeah, my bed felt quite good for the 3 and a bit hours that I was in it, but yeah, absolutely. The fresh air and the walk down here from over on the other side of the TV compound, doing a grand job of waking me up. And the coffee and the croissant on the way helped too.
No. So you've already had a coffee and croissant stop.
Sorry.
Good, right.
That's why I only had 3.5 hours sleep. I thought I'd better.
So Genet to Webber, let's just go back to this. This is 35.3 seconds between those two at the moment. So it's come down, and we need to keep an eye on that. Genet in second place, Webber in third.
Slightly out of sequence there with the stops. So where we've seen the Audi quadruple stinting through the night, we're seeing that the Porsche hasn't been. They're just tripling. So they're out of sequence in terms of who's doing what and where. So last stop for Webber was fuel only. Genet just got into that car and having had a full service. So Genet with a little bit of an advantage now, because he's now going to go through the next 2 stops with just fuel. We expect. We'll see what happens in terms of the I would think switching now. They'll be staying with the soft compound tyre with the track temperature as it is. Let's see what happens as it heats up. They'll certainly, when we see track temperatures creeping into the 20s and above, they'll be thinking about changing compound. But that still could be a couple of hours away, because it's still fairly fresh outside.
Well, we'll keep an eye on the gap as it happens. Certainly Webber picking up some more time in the first sector on this lap. Quite a long sector, the middle sector.
Yeah, that middle sector being the length of the Mulsanne straight. And yeah, it is the third sector, the slightly longer sector.
Leader in the pits. Marcel Fessler comes in. Let's see what he gets, if it's a
should be a straightforward stop, this one. In, fuel, go.
And the gap comes down just a fraction between Genet and Webber again. It's 32.2 seconds now. Just a fraction, but it's coming down and coming down. There is the number 2 Audi.
For a man who said he would never come back to Le Mans, Mark Webber looks very happy after, of course, he had those 2 terrifying incidents flipping that Mercedes over. Into the garage. In
the garage for the lead car. They've got a comfortable 4-lap advantage, which adds up to about 12, perhaps a bit more, 12, 14 minutes, in fact. So they can afford to do a little bit of work in the garage rather than on pit lane.
But what are they doing? They're in the back. It does look like an exploratory.
They can use more mechanics as well, as you can see in the garage.
Absolutely. That's the reason we see the car turn around and put in. If you need to do more than... well, you can have a guy on each corner when it's in the garage. It really doesn't matter. But... ooh, some heat coming out the back of that car, that's for sure. A big plume of something.
Yeah.
And the mechanic doing an awful lot of pointing at the rear of that car. Front clip coming off as well. So they're taking this as an opportunity to clear... oh, he's dropped his ratchet down into the bodywork. Didn't want to do that. Having a really good look inside that car. Going to just pop an earplug in and try and hear what's... This sounds like we've got a real problem here for the number 2 car. Sounds like they're going to change a turbo.
Well, it came into the pits at about 6 minutes 56.
So they're taking this opportunity to change some turning vanes, to change the balance in the front of the car.
But playing with turbos is hot work at the back, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's the plume of smoke we saw. They've probably let a fire extinguisher or something off over it just to cool it down a little. You don't want to do that too much because you shouldn't be reheat treating your exhaust, but no choice in this situation. They can't afford to lose too much time, but they are changing that turbo by the sounds of it.
And Marcel Fessler staying in the car, the Swiss driver. This is going to be a fascinating pit stop. It's going to lose them a lap or two, isn't it?
I don't think this is going to be a 3-lap thing. I think this is the race just being blown wide open again.
Well, we don't complain about that. And if
right, no, it is. It's done.
Was that a turbo? Sure.
Back in. Back in the cockpit as well. Just waiting to hear from the Audi guys exactly what they think or what they're going to confess to.
Here it comes.
Yeah, rear deck back on. If that was a turbo change, that's very impressive.
That was a mere, well, it's lost maybe 2-3 minutes, but not even a full lap.
Having trouble starting it. Really struggling to cycle the ignition there. Doing a full Control-Alt-Delete on that car. Reset that car, being held. So what will actually be happening now is they'll be looking at the telemetry data of that car sitting there just to make sure that everything's okay. Back on the skates and back in the garage. So when they fired that car, the guys in the back of the garage will have been looking at all the temperature and pressure sensors to make sure that everything was okay, and clearly not happy. This is why Audi are so fantastic. They have these systems in place that stop things like this happening. Back in the front as well, which is something that I think this is more than we know. I think this is something KERS related, because there's an electric motor in the front of that car, and it looks to me like they're under there having a good look at that as well. So perhaps a KERS issue here.
Energy recovery system, kinetic energy recovery system is KERS. Energy recovery system is ERS. So
to me, right, okay, so we're also seeing a big unit just being rolled out, taking the door off, or is he putting the door back on? Door back on. Somebody's obviously right.
Interesting, it's 2 doors, and yet it's only a single-seater in the middle.
Absolutely. We go to some of the circuits where they have to refuel the cars from the opposite side. Garage is on the other side. I'm trying to think which one it is. I think it's Fuji is the main one. I'm trying to see what the unit is on the left-hand side that they're going at that car with now. This to me, I think we've got a KERS or an ERS issue here. The turbo not gone on, we're hearing. An awful lot of mechanics working on that car. And some discussion now between 2 mechanics across the back of the car, having a scratch of the head as to what they think that they should do. Some gesticulation, yeah, agreeing what they're going to do and send it. I think that's a fuel bowser that's plugged into that car. So I think they've just might be pulling oil or fuel out of that car. As you see on the right-hand rear corner there, left-hand rear corner of the car. Oh, we have the SMP racing car in the wall. One of the Ferrari 458s. Yeah, Reinhold just standing, looking over that as the SMP off at 117B. 117B is Porsche Curves.
Not a nice place to go off, but as you can see, there is damage to the car.
Absolutely, we've seen an awful lot of incident there over the weekend, and I think lots of talk about whether that section of the circuit is too fast. So we're going to see a replay now of what happened. He went into the wall on the right. That was quite heavy, big accident, but clearly okay because nobody rushing to get there. I think actually the way he's glanced the wall, he's been a lucky boy. We can't see the right-hand side of that car. It may be more damage than we think, but I think. He can probably fire that up. So Lena Gade there talking, no, the SMP driver out. That car's going to have to be recovered. So we're going to see probably a slow zone or even a safety car. Safety car will be everything that these Audi guys need.
That was Victor Shatar in that car, the Russian driver in the SMP Ferrari. And he doesn't reckon he's going anywhere, obviously, having jumped out of the car.
He's walked too far away from that car. That car is now a retirement. See how the Eduardo Freitas and his team decide they want to deal with that in terms of getting it from the outside of the Porsche chicane there. I don't think it's going to be very easy to get to. I certainly wouldn't be sending cars out into drivers out under waved yellows, marshals out rather under waved yellows. So I think we're going to see either a slow zone or a safety car to recover that car, but Eduardo Freitas and his team making the decision as to how to do it. See the number 1 Audi, just going to hear on the radio. Okay, so the gap now down to just 1 lap as Marc Genet comes across the line. I think we're about to see a change of lead. Mark Webber, of course, not far behind. Let's start monitoring that gap. Slow zone, as we suspected, to clear that Ferrari, the SMP racing car, that's off in the wall. Lena not looking very impressed, hands on hips. Looking very anxious. At this stage, she's got no control over what goes on with the car. There's an engineer in the garage who takes over at this point. She's left to concentrate on the strategy and setup of that car. They're working very hard over the rear and even giving it a quick polish, which I'm surprised about. I thought they'd left it dirty. But that slow zone will be in place soon through the Porsche curves. So guys will be losing about 30 seconds coming through there at 60 kilometres an hour for a good little while, I think, while they clean up the debris from that incident.
Genet in second place, 41 seconds ahead of Mark Webber in the third in the number 20 Porsche. And they're soon going to be on the same lap as that delayed Audi. It's been in the pits now for 8 minutes.
So Kyle Wilson-Clark there from the Progressive Motorsport organisation telling Marc Genet that you're about to take the lead, 1 more lap. So we're expecting Marc in. Marc, of course, just completing the first stint in that car. He's then going to be, he'll be seeing fuel only and on his way, that's for sure. So we won't be losing too much time.
Well, we saw Marc Genet in only a few laps ago, so I don't think we're going to see him for a little while yet.
Okay, so maybe that message, just 1 more lap to take the lead.
Yeah,
it's a
1 more
strange
lap
thing
to
be worrying about telling the driver in there to do a job. I wouldn't be too worried if I was him. He's just there to drive as fast as he can for as long as he can. This is just heartbreaking for these the number 2 Audi guys who have done such a fantastic job and built so much time.
And as I say, you know, you get the feeling if it can happen to one, always with this sort of thing, it can happen to the other as well, if it is indeed a turbo.
Absolutely, these sub-assemblies, all the same components. Often you can see a batch issue on a part, but generally all identical, built by the same people, and you know, just assembled by the car crews. So yeah, no, it's confirmed as turbo issues on that number 2 car. So we were right to begin with. Why they didn't change it when it was first in the garage, I don't know.
To take it out again and then bring it back was sort of a weird thing to do, wasn't it?
I think there was a glimmer of hope that, you know, changing a single component was going to fix it. You know, maybe they had a boost pressure leakage or something like that, and they thought actually it could be this or that. But obviously not being whatever it was they thought, they found out pretty quickly when they fired that car up in the pit lane that it wasn't as we see the slows. That's the slow zone, thank goodness for that.
Right, yeah.
Thought we were about to see a further turn in this race This is the #1 car, came through the slow zone. Yeah, staying out, pressing on.
Genet to Webber, still 40 seconds between what is at the moment the second-placed Audi and the third-placed Porsche.
There's our lead change. We see the Genet car now just coming past the Fassler car sitting in the garage. So there we are. We want to see that #2 car now, because an Audi internal battle, there's nothing better than seeing those two cars go at it hard.
7 hours, 52 minutes, keep on.
Lena talking to Marcel, keeping him informed of what's going on. Probably just telling him we're down to second, you're going to go out there and you're going to push like crazy.
Sits there very calmly, nothing he can do.
21 stops for the Genet car.
And it switched. Genet now in the lead from Fassler in second. 40 seconds later, Webber should come through in moving up into second, ahead of Fassler, who will go third. But they still have about a seven lap advantage over the that's in the slow zone. You're seeing those cars panic not.
Interesting there. What we see there is Mark Webber getting caught by the slow zone when Genet did not. Genet just went through under waved yellows, which is means Mark has now. We'll see how it's a roll of the dice. We'll see if Mark Genet has to go through it the same number of times as Mark Webber did, but Mark's going to be a further 30 seconds back now. Yeah, we see that reflected on the screen now. The gap now 1 minute 35. So lost an awful lot of time there in terms of the slow zone.
Well, it was 40 seconds, the gap between Genet and Webber. And Webber's coming in. Oh, first, sorry, no. So we just wait for Webber's just got to catch up, but it's. I think the gap has increased. I think you're right.
Yeah, this is the point of these slow zones. This is where they, although they keep the race going, they can be quite unfair. But we will see, and we'll keep an eye, see how it pans out. Mark Webber now 1:37 back.
Yeah,
haven't been only 40 seconds back, so he's lost more than 30 seconds through that slow zone at the Porsche curves. Yeah, some would say the safety car is fairer, but equally around Le Mans that's not necessarily the case, because you have these 3 safety cars, so they have to do this work on the circuit, don't get me wrong, but it does sometimes spoil the race a little for people, and here we have seen it gift Mark Genet a bigger lead. Let's see how that one works. Mark Genet now just entering that slow zone, about half a lap in it now, as Mark Webber comes out of the first chicane, the graphic you see on the screen. Mark Genet now into that slow zone, absolutely crawling through it. So Mark will be closing that gap again, but as we say, unless that slow zone gets removed, with Mark Genet having gone through it one extra time, then I fear Mark Webber's going to have lost a good 50 seconds.
They're basically clearing debris in the slow zone. That's from that Ferrari accident. So once that's done, it will be withdrawn, the slow zone will be withdrawn, and this is what it's like going very, very slowly in an Audi R18 e-tron Quattro, riding on board here with Mark Genet.
60 kilometres an hour there on the left-hand side. We see them retrieving that car, nearly got it on the low loader. Or did they just have it on a digger and lift it back?
Fassler now in third place, but still in the pits. There is the number 20 Porsche. They're ready to put the nose back on.
I think there's more to this. I don't think this is turbo.
It's quite a lot, isn't it?
I don't see why they would have that front end off that car and be doing something under the front.
And yet they're not doing, well, they're not doing anything to the front.
Yeah, which is why would you take the front end off?
Yeah.
Why would you do that? It just doesn't make sense to me. It's not like the jacking point is there. It's if they put the car up onto high jacks, often you see they have to take the front off to be able to lift it, but that's not the case. The car is still down on low stands, as we see Mark Webber hit the brakes, entering that slow zone. and he's now going to crawl through there at 60 kilometres an hour. Must feel like an absolute eternity. Well, it is an absolute eternity from the speed they're normally coming through there. Mark even weaving to try and just keep a bit of tyre temperature, concerned that the front tyres are going to lose some heat.
And let's remember earlier on in this race, we saw the number 14 Porsche actually seem to be stuck at 59 kilometers per hour. As you can see there, and it came out of the slow zone and was still stuck at 59 kilometers per hour, and that's had to go back into the pits.
In the end, they had to change intervention car on sector 1. Don't know why that is. Maybe taking this as an opportunity to save to change the pace cars, I would suggest. Going to go and have a sleep. The drivers of those cars, they can get through the infield and be swapped, but just while it's out there getting that done.
You were talking about what they did with the Porsche 14.
Yeah, sorry, they had to change the steering wheel on that car, but there was another issue as well somewhere under the back. We don't know exactly what, but in the end, the steering wheel swap was what fixed that. So it's a simple electrical fault by the sound of it, electrical rather than electronic.
Well, actually, that doesn't take 5 seconds to do that.
No, it doesn't, but they took the car back into the garage, which is why we suspect there was something else being masked by that. But Porsche saying that the steering wheel swap was what fixed the slow zone issue, in effect, a stuck button. So that number 2 car just losing time, hand over fist. It's a good time to be losing it because it's minimised by the slow zone. Could be even better if there was a safety car out there, but we've not seen that. And we see the 14 car coming through. How long before the 14 car passes the 8 and the 14 pass the Fassler number 2 car? Still quite a gap there, some 7 laps.
Yeah,
but
quite some way.
We could see this car lose another 7 laps easily, in which case then suddenly we have a 3-way fight for 3rd overall, which, well, that would be something else. A 1-2 battle out front. Mark Webber pulling 3 seconds back on that last lap, which of course he can do under the slow zone procedure. He's free to do what he likes.
Well, the front going back on the number 2 Audi, as you see, still work taking place at the back of the car, but already they've lost about 18 minutes with this pit stop.
The driver being told to do something, turn the lights off, I think. Pit cycle on, so he's just done a cycle of the electrical system, and those LED lights back on now. The rear deck, you can see, being held above the car, about to be dropped down on. As soon as the mechanics say all is clear, let's see what happens when they turn that car around into the pit lane, because as they did last time, do a systems check and make sure that all the pressures are reading as they should before they send that car on its way.
Look how slow that is. Crawling round.
Isn't it? All the guys in the Porsche Caves will be able to drift off to sleep now. To team radio.
Yeah, maybe Lena didn't see that he'd been shown the sign to do it.
This is what I was saying about the guys very much at Audi. Split roles, and that's why we see the progressive guys come in to look after the race engineering side of it. So Lena not in charge when that car's in the garage. That then falls to those Yerst boys to do their stuff. That's their baby when it's in there, her baby once it's out on the pit road.
Interesting split, considering, you know, it's, as I say, it's an independent company that she works for in the UK, whereas Yost are in Germany, obviously, not actually in Ingolstadt, which is where Audis are based, and probably a couple of hours, in fact, from Ingolstadt.
Yeah, and the car's actually built at the factory as well, which is the strange thing about it. The cars run out of Ingolstadt, delivered to the Yerst team at the circuits, and the Yerst team in charge of running them day to day there at the circuits. And yeah, as you say, you know, the progressive engineering, progressive motorsport guys, Dave Ward and his crew in Brackley in the UK, do lots of other R&D work for various manufacturers, developing some of their own equipment as well. Those guys look after the race engineering side, but that is, I think you asked me maybe even last night, why they do that, but this is exactly why they do that. Let the people, the specialists, do what they do, and it's absolutely the right way of dealing with it, because the Yerst guys know that car inside out. They know how to do the quick servicing on it. They focus on their area. As we see the intervention car having a good old look at the barrier there, I think, where the car hit. So this, oh yes, we can see some bent arm code just in front of the man in the yellow jacket to the left-hand side.
So maybe that's exactly why he went out there, to have a look at that barrier, and we could actually see a safety car or safety zone for quite some time, couldn't we? Slow zone for quite some time if that needs repairing.
This is exactly why they instigated this procedure, so that they're not losing time hand over fist.
Interestingly, Mark Webber still seems to be picking up time. It was 100 seconds. It's now 105 seconds, so he's lost a bit in comparison to Marc Genet.
That number 2 Audi, you just heard the onboard there, the engine is now running, so I think they're in the same situation they were when they pulled the car out onto pit lane and fired it, and on the telemetry they're still seeing something that's not quite right. So maybe they've been wrong with the diagnosis of the problem on that number 2 car. But this really is a big change in terms of what's going on in the race.
Here it comes again, back into the pit lane. Out come the dollies. Car goes down onto the ground and restarts after a delay of approximately 22 and a half minutes.
Yeah, 23 minutes, 18 seconds as he crosses the line on the way out. So, oh wow, 2 laps down now on Genet and Webber. So Marc Genet didn't even think he'd be driving an Audi, let alone leading the race overall on Monday. Only drafted into that squad on Wednesday night, so we see safety car out. So clearly we're going to have to have some fairly fundamental barrier repairs. That's gutting for those Audi guys that car has now just gone out to go and sit behind a safety car. If that safety car had happened 5 minutes before, we would be seeing a fantastic battle there, because a safety car lap something in the order of 8 minutes, they'd have lost half the time.
So really unfortunate. And there is the intervention car just having a look at the barrier again. So there we are, that 7:40 with 7 minutes, 7 hours and 40 seconds still to go.
What happened with the car?
Let's have a little eavesdrop. Ryan Heldios there, talking to one of his guys. Little replay here. And the gap between Genet and Webber is now 2 minutes. It was 1 minute and 40 seconds. And I'm afraid it's gone up. But there's certainly a lot of time left. 7 hours and 40 minutes approximately left of this race. But I wonder how long we're going to be seeing the safety car. The slow zone has to be respected within the safety car procedure.
That's interesting to see that. That means they're really trying to cover those guys that are going to be replacing the guardrail on the... We don't know whether it's damaged on the driver's right as well. Just trying to understand what's going on here in terms of what they're going to replace on the barrier. We'll see as they come round whether they're which side they're working. So, team radio from number 2. So we're seeing them having to replace a section of the upper barrier, which... Are they peeling that back to make... No, they are. They're having to replace the post there, and I think that's on driver's right, where the car made its first impact with the wall. Yes, look, we've got a section of that fencing down, so them choosing to repair that debris fencing, that's mandatory FIA debris fencing to prevent things coming across. So you see there the message, Happy Father's Day from Corvette Racing, been unveiled on the front of their overhead lighting gantries within the pit lane. I'm sure there'll be lots of fathers involved in charge of the TV remote today watching this race as they sweep the gravel away as well, taking this safety car and slow zone procedure as an opportunity to really get the circuit cleaned up. You can see there where all the cars have been running wide, and the clean area as well as all the gravel there, where that brought on by the KCMG car, I think some 8 hours ago, when it hit the wall and did quite a lot of damage. Seeing somebody having a quick 5-minute sleep there. So they're actually in there grinding away at that post to try and get it changed. This could be a long one while they do this. We could be in a situation where they've got to dig some concrete out of the ground. I suspect they'll just drill some bolt holes in it and get it screwed on. The marshals working hard to try and get the circuit cleaned up as best they can here now with the sun up and the temperature rising. So a chance to have a quick look at the Pro GTE Pro battle. Tony Villander in the 51 AF Corsa Ferrari on 228 laps, with Stefan Mucker on the same lap now, 2 minutes behind. So he's in the safety car train behind Villander. And then also on that same lap we see the 92 Porsche, the factory Porsche. That's good to see. And Jan Magnussen as well there, chasing it down. So LMP2, quick recap, Alex Brundle on 240 laps, Nelson Pantiatici on the same lap, but 2 safety cars behind, I would suggest, and then a further lap down Badet in the other Ligier. So this new Ligier doing a fantastic job, working really well, pushing on as we see our race leader weaving around in the safety car behind the class leading Aston. Marc Genet just heading there through Indianapolis behind the safety car, about to come up to the slow zone. As we see, I think Nicolas Lapierre ready to get into the Toyota. So Toyota can use this as an opportunity to do a full service, and why wouldn't you if you're at that stage in your race that you can do that. The 12 car coming in as well, the last of the remaining Rebellion R1s. They're going to bring it in and give that a full service. This is an opportunity for anybody that's got some little niggling issues to get in there and actually do something about it, as we see a cameraman giving a camera a bit of a service. Always nice to see, making sure we got a clear view going forward. And the 35, yep, everybody, all these leading cars using this as an opportunity to get a full service done on the car, tyres, fuel, and I think Alex Brundle will be staying in that car. Jan Mardenborough not been out of that car that long, and the 12 car not maybe seems to be really hurrying to the 12 car. A few bits and bobs they got to do by the looks of it. Just, yeah, off it goes. They've not given it a full service, just fuel for the 12. And this is the slow zone, so the class leading so that's Marc Genet talking to Kai Wilson-Clark about the barrier repair. Looks like they're going to repair the barrier, going to be here a little while, as we see that intervention car still there on the inside. Yeah, the class leading GTE AM car there ahead of the race leading #1 Audi. Ooh, that's a large digger bucket going in, so they're going to even have to dig the concrete out there and to do the repair. So we've seen them grind away the the fence post, and it is the catch fencing, the upper catch fencing that's damaged, which I'm surprised, because the car certainly didn't impact and jump up high in the wall. So strange to see that they're having to do that, as we see the 8 Toyota taking the opportunity to come in. I think Ann Davidson will be staying aboard that car. No, that's Nick Lapierre getting in that car, of course, sorry. Nick, who had the accident last night, and dropping that car way down the order. Full service, out comes Anthony. Anthony quite short, so his seat insert comes out. Nick Lapierre makes sure the crutch strap's in the right place, drops himself into the cockpit, and somebody coming in from the right-hand side to help strap him in, pulling these the straps over. Those Takata straps that the Toyota guys have always used. Part of a bigger sponsorship deal there, I think.
Well, as they suggested, this looks like it's going to be quite a long safety car period with that work taking place. And we can go through the order now with Marc Genet in the lead in Audi #1. And this is #2 car coming in, the #2 Audi coming in. So originally.
Interesting to see the 2 car coming back in now and going. Oh, this is the replay. This is the replay. Thank goodness for that. I thought we were about to see further trouble for the 2 car.
And this was indeed that 22-minute or 23-minute pit stop, which cost Marcel Fessler first and second place. He's rejoined in third. And he's a couple of laps down, if not 3 laps down, on the leaders. Then they wheeled it back out again.
It used to be LMP2 that we used to see being the race of attrition, but certainly, you know, trouble for all of these cars now in the leading LMP1. Nobody having a completely trouble-free run, whether it be through accident, damage, or mechanical. But we've seen the #20 car lose time quite a few times with an apparent braking issue. Brendan Hartley being the first one to find that out in the early evening last night, going straight on at the Arnage corner. And Mark Webber then repeating that at the end of his next stint as well. Interesting to hear that. Don't think you needed to know that they cleaned the bodywork, but nice to know you're in a shiny Audi. So readjusted the flap. Sounds interesting. I'd like to know what the flap is. I suspect that's the front wing. And that they've just been checking that that's set properly. There was obviously an imbalance there somewhere in that car setup, as we see the 42 car. I think that's young Mac McMurray coming out of that car now, and indeed handing that car over to what will be Chris Dyson in that car now.
I think, interesting, the engine problem was just sort of mixed in amongst the fact that they'd done the spring clean as well. But obviously, you know, they talk about cleaning the bodywork, but you spoke about earlier on, Giles, about the amount of rubber that gets inside the car, and that really can make quite a big difference if it's blocking up air vents and breathers and things like that.
Oh,
so
absolutely.
actually, that sort of spring clean can make a fairly major difference.
Absolutely, if you've got a build-up of rubber in some of these ducts, even we hear the 1 car. Okay, being told to keep the revs up on the engine, so that'll be to keep oil pressures and things in the right ballpark, above 2,500 RPM. The engine's probably idling very high, similar speed to that. This is going to be a long one, isn't it? As we see lengths of Armco being offloaded off that that truck. They're gonna, it's only one section I think that they've got to do. It's not that they're gonna have to do several lumps of that. So in the past, you know, we saw them in an hour and a half replace a 200-metre section of Armco a couple of years back. Ooh, I don't think I think it's the number 70, 458. It's going to be very popular for spinning its rear wheels in the slow zone at a marshal who stood in the circuit waving a yellow flag. As we see the SMP Racing driver being brought back on the back of a bike to the pit lane.
Victor Shaitar, who has caused this with his excursion into the barrier. And I think you're right. I don't think it'll actually take too long. These guys tend to be pretty quick these days. And there's a lot of them as well. They're pretty experienced at doing this.